Superboothy things we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, as at the time of this recording, Superbooth is, I guess, wrapping up. Yeah, this is the last day of it. A lot of shit revealed. Was going to talk about the Zetaohm Fluxus One.
Yep.
Fluxus. Not really sure how you pronounce it.
He was really cool. We met him at NobCon last year. Cool dude. It was all like kind of based off of some dreams he was having, right? Or something along those lines. I think we talked about this maybe a little before.
Yeah, I think we talked about it in our first episode because, we ran into him on that Saturday at NobCon. Like, we went downstairs, all the manufacturers were still setting up their shit. Yeah. And so we were just kind of wandering around killing time, and then we saw this one dude. He was already set up, just like ready to go. He was the only one that like had everything on display. So we went over and shot the shit with him for a bit. Had no idea who he was or what he was displaying at the time. We just saw some really colorful...
Yeah, the crazy buttons is like, that looks crazy.
Looked like silicone buttons.
Yeah. Looked like digital Lucky Charms
yeah,
glowing from across the room. It was like,
and lights are blinking like crazy. Like they're all different colors. I mean, it's not surprising that we were drawn to it.
Yeah. It was eye-catching. And he explained that it was a sequencer, that it was his... I guess first module that he's taking on, and that he basically quit his day job to pursue his vision of this module. And when we asked him about like the shapes and all that, he said it came from a vision that he had or a dream. So none of us could remember the name, so I don't know if we mentioned it by name in the first episode. We just called it the dream sequencer. But now it has a name, and it's called the Fluxus One or Fluxus One.
And now, did he say it was an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi core?
He does mention it.
I think it was Arduino. Or maybe it was Teensy.
Teensy. It might have been Teensy, yeah.
I guess we can explain what it is for anyone who isn't hip to the Kickstarter or the Superbooth demo video. 4-track sequencer. Each track has 2 CV outs and I think 1 gate out.
I think 1
per
gate.
channel. Yeah. Up to 64 steps total. And one of the big things that really makes it stand out is that it has the ARP per step, which is fucking amazing. Nothing out there does that right now. You know what I mean? Like, you can have... There's things out there right now that can ratchet per step. Nothing that I know of that can ARP. Before this was revealed, I had my eye on the WMD Arpeggio, which I'm still interested in, but at the same time, I don't know if I'll need it if I have a Fluxus One. You know what I mean?
I see that.
Don't know how much arpeggiating I need in my rack, but it seems like the Flux will handle a lot of that.
Right? Yeah.
Richard Devine did the brief demo showing it, and
for the Arpeggio, you mean?
No, for Zetaohm.
Yeah. Oh, because I just saw he did an Arpeggio one.
Did he?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah, it looked amazing. After you described what the Zetaohm does, it's seeming less and less useful.
Yeah, I would agree.
It seemed like it had a place before the sequencer came along.
I think it still does, because it's kind of unique in that, like, from what I know about the Arpeggio, you don't even need to send it a CV sequence. Like, you can generate it using gates.
Okay, so just send it a clock and it's going to like output some voltage.
Yeah, it can be like its own standalone arpeggiation engine. So like, if you already have a bunch of sequencers or even gate sequencers and you want to do some arpeggiating rhythms, you can get the Arpeggio. So I don't know if you can do it just by hitting it with a gate and having it generate a straight ARP from having no CV going into it. Or
I thought it was taking a sequence and then doing it from that.
You can.
Okay, that was the mode that I thought was really interesting. Was
you can send something and have it like quantize it and arpeggiate it, but I think you can also have it generated just by hitting it with like a gate, telling it like what clock speed type of thing, to just generate its own
Because my idea was, my thought was taking like basically like a real simple bread and butter sequencer and then giving it new life, spicing it up like that way.
Absolutely, you could do that as well.
Especially if you've got a sequencer that you've had for a million years, you're comfortable using. This would be like something to augment that, as opposed to like the Zetaohm. If you're just going to dive into that, you're also going into like a whole new land of a brand new sequencer, not trying to give new life to an old sequencer.
Right. I think there's definitely room in the market for both.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to bang heads too much.
No.
You know what I mean?
But we could try to start shit now.
Yeah.
Like really instigate both of them.
Little drama going on.
Yeah.
In the ARP world. Too many ARPs.
The only way to sort it out is to get demos of both, you know? It's just...
Gotta have them demo units.
I think we need like a PO box or something for that.
Yeah, all
Where
the
would you
stuff
even-
that
I
we're
have
getting.
one.
Yeah. I mean, do you?
Yeah, I do. I've had one for a while. Because people steal stuff off my porch.
That's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. All right. Was there anything else about the Zetaohm? Because I think.
Yeah, I was just
yeah. You were also saying there was something about LFO.
Oh,
per
yeah,
channel?
that's a big selling point.
That was the other thing that really caught my attention. Yeah, you can have the CV channels function as a LFO.
Yeah.
So you could essentially, just with one track, have it like, doing sequencing, gate sequencing, and then have your modulation CV output like routed back into itself and have it do things like change the ARP direction.
Yeah.
He mentioned in the Superbooth video that like that is going to be a possibility. It's just not right this second. It's not working. So yeah, it just seems like a beast of a sequencer.
For not that big of a size. Like, it doesn't take up that much rack space.
No, it's pretty compact because it utilizes both the buttons for visual feedback as well as the LCD screen. So I guess he was able to compact it, it's into the best of both worlds there. You know what I mean? Like,
it's smaller than Renee. It's got a lot more outputs than Renee does, honestly.
It's smaller than Renee. It's smaller than Audio Damage Seek 1.
Yeah.
It's smaller than, I think, the Harvestman Stilson Mark II.
Yep.
And it has the same amount of channels as the Stilson. I think the Stilson is the only thing really competing with it right this minute. Like, I think it kind of blows away Seek 1, personally, because Seek 1, it does have the ratcheting and the CV outputs, but it's only, for the most part, one channel. Unless you do some jacking around, you can turn, like, the CV outs into, like, a second channel and things like that. But
So what is the Kickstarter price?
I think it was like $575.
Well, props to him for making it look so, like, I love modules that have, like, a little personality. You can colorful.
Yeah, and people were already giving them shit on forums and even at Superbooth. Like, the one dude asked, like, what's the point of these symbols? And he was just kind of like, he likes them. He just wanted to do that. And, like, someone else on the forums was like, oh, I'm really sold on this except for the goofy button.
Sorry, you hate fun.
And that's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said when he answered the question. Like, that was why he did that. It was he wanted to make something that was appealing and fun to play with.
Yeah.
We wanted something that was like toy-like in nature. I can respect that. That's pretty cool.
I will say I do have my own complaint, even though this is not something I have or have pre-ordered or anything. The jacks on the bottom. That's a bummer.
Oh, yeah. That's...
You don't like that?
No, I want them on the top.
Really?
I agree.
See, I'm the opposite. I like my sequencing shit towards the top, generally. Like, that's why I like the layout of the Variegate 8, because I like to have sequencing at the top rack.
I want my jacks out of the way.
I'm kind of the same way, because I want the sequencers almost at the bottom with the jacks going upwards to things.
Yes.
So I can just, like, Variegate, that kind of drives me a little nuts that it's not at least consistent with the voltage block. But whatever.
I feel you, but I disagree. See, because, like, right now, like, this case in point, like, the Metropolis and the voltage block, jacks are at the top. Right. So my cables, when they're going out, like, I have long cables. There's all this slack dangling then in my interface. With Variegate, when you have it at the bottom, you can put the module in the top rack, and the cables just naturally hang down and go where they need to go.
The gates are pouring down into the rest of the modules, not flowing up.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Oh, because then you can start using the saving functions. Is there like some sort of like inner
savings for suckers, dude?
Wow.
Just start from scratch every time.
It'll save the voltage block stuff to the Variegate.
Thank you for giving me a serious answer.
Early bird special is still available, and it was $575.
One per person.
One per person. Comes with stickers. The sticker pack.
Oh, fucking love stickers.
I like fucking stickers, dude.
I like having stickers and rarely using them or putting them on things. Just like in a huge fucking box of stickers.
Yeah, I'm the same way, dude. I mean, I'll slap them on my laptop and my modular cases, but for the most part, I just like collecting stickers. Yeah. I have an entire box over there full of fucking stickers that I've been collecting since I was like 11.
Same here. And
I take the ones I don't like and I give them to people that I sell modules to.
Do you really?
Oh,
Yeah, just throw them in the box. It's like,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Some free swag. I dig it.
And a slight fuck you, because it's stickers you don't like. So like, here you do something with this shitty sticker.
It started because I had like those void parties from like 2014. I had like literally hundreds of stickers from them. Like, these are cool, but like, man, just like get them out of here.
Yeah.
So everybody that I ship something to has one of those.
See, I usually just toss in like broken glass and syringes with everything that I sell.
Here you go, clean that up, kid. It works.
some nails, rusty push pins,
Unpaid bills.
Clip your toenails into the bottom.
Giving me bad ideas, man. Don't forget to give me good feedback on muffs. Free swag. Toenail clippings. Some cat litter.
Little screw bag full of cat litter. Is that M3 or M2.5 cat litter?
I can't wait for the thread that shows up. Noob question. What am I supposed to do with this cat litter?
Which way does the red stripe go on the cat litter?
That's what that cat litter's for, man.
In summary,
Yes.
Fluxus One looks very promising.
Yeah.
Wish him the best of luck with his Kickstarter. And
Nice dude.
nice dude.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's solid to see someone new to the scene who isn't just trying to be a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
Like, he's just doing his own thing, pursuing his own vision. It's not like he was sitting there thinking, well, what is everyone asking for on the forums?
Right.
You know, what can I make that'll cash in? He's pursuing something completely original and hoping that people just enjoy what he's doing. You know what I mean? That's,
Anyone who starts this came from a dream, I'm pretty much on board.
Yeah,
Go for it. Let's see what you get.
Yeah, this came from a vision I had in a dream. It's like, I was sold. I don't even know what it
Continue,
does.
sir.
But yeah.
Okay, so there was other things on our list for Superbooth related things.
Digitakt, that's one.
Yes.
Cool to see it actually working, making sound.
Became a little more clear.
Yeah, a little more clear on the features. Like, big one for me is I was curious about will the micro timing and the trigger conditions apply to the MIDI side of it, which it definitely didn't on the Octatrack because none of that stuff existed. And they confirmed that, so that's a huge plus for me. That's just going to be awesome to have a MIDI sequencer like that built into it.
Right.
I was worried it was just going to be the Octatrack sequencer, which it's simple and it's nice, but like it's I want something a little more. I'm a little spoiled by the rhythm trigger conditions, and having those in MIDI will be pretty nice.
I saw that he mentioned there was parameter locking.
Yeah, everything parameter locking.
Yeah.
Control all like function, if you remember that from the machine drum. So if you can take hit the function button and control the decay for all the 8 tracks at the same time, that's kind of a neat thing. Seeing the sampling of the device was cool because it's really easy to take like any recording. Still kind of odd that it's a mono box. I kind of get it, but if it was stereo, I think it would be like that much cooler.
Yeah. But again,
in that it can resample itself internally really easily. That's like another big selling point.
but it started to become clear, like the corners that had to be cut.
Yeah.
In order to get that ridiculous price point.
Is stereo really that much of a price jump though? Like,
I guess, but I mean, if you're doing it in stereo and you want to have true stereo, I'd imagine there's
you'd
a
need
lot
double
of
the memory.
Yeah.
Right, double a few things, but still that
It's
the
not just
Octatrack was stereo, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, but it's not just a matter of putting another jack on there. You know what I mean? Like I think it does. I think there's a lot of considerations that need to be made.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, each sample would be double in the size, and I guess your working project memory would have to be double. But and as it stands now, it's what 64 meg per project
like for the active project, and then a gig on the plus drive.
Right.
Okay.
But it's all got to be loaded in memory. One cool thing though is they finally some people don't like this, but there are no kits anymore. It's all saved to the pattern, even the BPM. So you don't have to worry.
An improvement.
Yeah, for
me,
me, that's great. Finally, I don't really care about the kits. I just want to hear what I played back without having to worry about ruining it. So that's good to see. I think they're learning to make some things a little simpler, but hopefully like we said before, that they continue to make some flagship like devices that have a little more.
I'm still surprised by the stereo thing because like right before this they released Heat, which is
that's a good point.
You know what I mean? It's, hey, stereo distortion. You can run your stuff through it, and then their next item to follow up with it, mono. It's like, okay. I use the Rhythm for sampling a lot, and that's mono only as well. Right. And I was kind of hoping this thing would inspire me to buy it, offer something more than what the Rhythm can already do if using it as a sequencer. It's kind of the same, you know.
Yes, very similar.
Same trig conditions, which is cool, but nothing new as far as trig conditions go, and still mono. And it's just like, and it's still basically just a phrase sampler. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to be doing any octatrack
not long samples.
Yeah, it's like all meant for one shot drum.
There was some cool stuff that he demoed. Schenk about like setting the start points and how you can actually see the waveform now, and that was really cool because it seems like, you know, in the octatrack or the Rhythm, it's just kind of like 0 to 128, and you kind of get that much resolution. You kind of gotta see, hope it's somewhere in there. But this seemed like it was much finer control over like getting into those slices.
Now, is there a way to actually control the start and end points on each of these samples as you're playing a part of the Rhythm? Mm-hmm. So that seems kind of cool. So you could actually maybe have something a little bit longer, and then not too long, obviously, but you could screw around with the start and end points and get a little bit of variation from that.
Yeah. There was some interesting, like they demoed some kind of granular stuff, but it's nothing you can't really do right now, except it looks like there's finer control over how deep you can zoom in on the start and end, which is cool.
Yeah, you did mention that it's new encoders.
Yeah, they looked really nice. We'll see how it is. Like I've got one. I'm just waiting for the UPS notification whenever they do ship it. But I don't think that it looks. I've never seen the MIDI demoed at all. It looks like they haven't even really started with it.
What is the ETA on shipping?
They said May. At
this
really?
Point.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought this was going to be like end of summer. Mm-mm. Well, that's weird because that's 1 month away, and they're still kind of a bit secretive, I guess, about everything that this thing can or can't do.
Totally. Superbooth was his first time it actually made sound that anybody could really hear. And the first time they talked about a lot of features that were in question.
I think it's still confusing. I think there's still people talking online, like asking questions like, does this thing have a fucking drum engine in it? And it's like, nope, it's a sampler, pure and simple.
It's a month away.
Right.
People should be able to start planning. If I'm going to buy this is what it can do.
Right.
And no one can do that yet.
Right. Like, did they jump the gun because of the MPC Live and the MPC X thing? Like, it was hard to tell if it was some, like, oh shit, we're going to get, like, everybody's going to want this, and they're going to like try to pre-order it and save money before they know we're out.
It was like a two-part issue, in my opinion. Like part of it was being secretive with the specs and what it actually, you know, can and can't do, the details. And then the other part was some of it just seemed intentionally misleading, like we discussed in a previous episode. And you know what I mean? Like the labels on the buttons, you would presume that those are in relation to like the drum synthesis engine that it has inside of it, and it doesn't have a drum synthesis engine in it, so it's like, why the fuck are these buttons pre-labeled?
And if you're being playful and that's you can put whatever you want there, just fucking say it. We just thought that'd be funny. That's where the cowbell should go, but we're not actually giving you a cowbell.
Yeah, like last episode, Dataline's explanation for that was, well, it's a throwback to our classic machine drum. That's not a throwback because this thing isn't in any way, shape, or form a fucking machine drum. So it just seems intentionally misleading. I don't know.
It's just silly for me because all the Elektron products, if you get some rubbing alcohol, you could just take all the labels off anyway. The first thing I would do if I got this thing, I'm cowbell, you're first. You're gone. I don't even want to see that word.
No, but we'll see.
Well, you'll see. Actually,
we'll see.
And then we'll all see.
In 1 month.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm excited because I definitely want to have it like in front of the modular, just picking up drum samples really quickly. Because like I was telling Dave earlier, I've had the same samples on my Rhythm for a while now. Like the same, because it's, you know, it's a little annoying to get them on there. And then you don't want to take it off because it's like, oh, I did use it in that pattern, you know, and then you're kind of stuck. So I'm at some point where like we'll see if I can do it, like clear off the Rhythm and just start completely fresh again. But right now it's like every bank and every pattern is full with all this stuff that I'm like trying to record or like is part of live sets. So I have multiple projects on there still, but
that's kind of why I stopped using it live at the moment. Like for a while I was gonna bring it out with the Taraz and the modular, and then like over time, after doing some practice sets and all that, I just kind of slowly took the rhythm out of the live setup. It's too complicated. Like you said, like if I decide just one night, oh, I don't want this sample on here anymore, but I find out it's like locked into a couple of different patterns and I forgot, and it just fucks up the whole project. Yep. So I don't know. It's more like a studio tool for me at this point. And
have the sounds from it ended up on the Taraz?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, for that tour we did in December, I ended up bouncing a lot of things out of the rhythm and ended up going right into the Taraz.
And that's the thing. Like I can't even play a live set without the rhythm now. It's like that's the only drum machine I'll be able to use. So I'm hoping the Digitakt might cover some of that.
So you just want to like sample chunks of the modular into it live, basically? That's pretty cool.
I do that a lot. They end up in the rhythm sometimes, but they used to end up in the Octatrack. Now that's kind of gone.
Right.
But 301's on the way, and the Digitakt, two like pretty big samplers. So those are like, I don't have much sampling stuff at all right now. Just the radio
That's weird.
music. Yeah.
Because you're like the sampling dude.
I like some samples. I like cutting that shit up.
Is that the segue into the Tiptop One discussion?
Oh yeah, Tiptop One. Yeah.
No?
No, it is. Tiptop One I thought sounds fantastic. It did, like, especially the sample pack on there was like 2496 stuff, and I don't play with stuff like at that range much, but when you pitch it down, there's like some awesome high frequency, like ghosty kind of stuff that comes out that normally is just gone, I feel. So it was cool to like pitch something down and be like, yeah, that sounds all right. But no display, like just the rotary. If it was a pot instead of a rotary, you could at least be like, oh, at like 2 o'clock I've got like my bass drums there or something. But with this, you can keep turning it left and you never get to like the first sample in the list and you're just stopped. It's just constantly rotating around. So it's like total Wheel of Fortune live. So without some method of cueing it, it's just, I don't know where I'm at right now. And that's like kind of.
So there was no way to do that independently from the knob with like CV and be like, okay, this voltage, it'll play that sample?
No,
or is it still relative to the
There's
knob?
this sequence mode where apparently if you have it in this mode and you hit it with a voltage, it'll start playing these samples in a certain sequence. But I just wanted like a knob on the voltage block to correspond to like what I thought this thing would be as a preset. But you can't really do that from what I know.
And even in that mode, it's only a range of 32 samples, right?
Yeah.
And you can't like exceed that.
I think you could do 64, but still it was like a lot to go through at that point.
Okay.
And, you only get your pitch for that one sample fixed. You can't set the pitch of samples on there and have it retain that. So you can't ever get like retained pitch up and down. The jack layout is really confusing. They have the labels are offset to the point where the jack it's associated with, the printing shifted, so it's actually at the jack above. So the text is closer to that jack. So I was always like, oh, wait, the CV in the gate? No, it's the gate. I put it in the CV again. Like, for whoever they had beta test it, it was probably more like, oh, yeah, it does the things you said it should do. But nobody ever took a step back to be like, well, if you did this, though, it'd be like 1,000 times more useful. There was kind of some thrashing on the forum when people were like, well, just let me set a value in the text file for this thing and just have it always start on this sample. So I know every time it's like here. And they were like, oh, if we do that, we're going to add another loop to the code and it's going to mess up the latency, like the 0.25 milliseconds latency. And people are like, but it's not. I don't have one anymore because of that reason.
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah, I saw the same discussion going about the save state.
Yes,
How if you turn it off and back on, it doesn't retain any of your settings. And people were saying, like, can we please add this? And then I guess Gurr replied and said, well, if we do that, that's more code, and then we're going to fuck up the latency. But these weren't minor grievances for a lot of people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you said, there's a lot of people who are just deciding to not continue to use it because of these little things. Things that I guess Tiptop thought were little things that people wouldn't mind, but are actually really hurting the usefulness of this module.
Because in the studio, it doesn't matter. Just dial up the sound you want and like start recording. And live, I was kind of fumbling around like, oh, there it is. And even the radio music is so easy to be like, oh, here's the LED for the bank. I'll go to bank 2 and I'll scroll through and there's my sample. It's really quick to kind of get where you had your stuff.
I've never messed with the one or the radio music one, but I do have the Pico drum from Erica.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of like it. You can save the state and then you have to load it again, but at least it has the ability to do it. Yeah, and you can also adjust the pitch and have it scan different samples while like you configure that. And it uses a weird little like 6 LED display to tell you what samples you're on. So like it doesn't tell you like by number. It looks like little alien symbols basically. You know what I mean? It lights it up a different way. Yeah, so you know there's some reference.
Right.
Yeah.
These are all things that the One does not have.
Yeah.
And I think the One is more expensive, right? I can't remember the price for the Pico, but I think it's cheaper than that.
Yeah, I think it's a little cheaper.
And you can do 2 drums on the Pico.
Yes.
And it's pretty cool. Yeah. Like you just flip
Do
the
they have
switch.
their own gate and CV?
They share the CV.
Yep.
Okay.
But they have 2 dedicated gate inputs.
Oh, that's cool.
And then you flip the switch to tell it which CV you want it to be affecting or which drum the knob is controlling.
Oh, that sounds infinitely better than the One.
Yeah, it seemed a
Yeah.
little better thought out, than the One. That's why I bought the Pico. Like I bought the Pico at the same time the One was announced, and so I was kind of torn at first which one to get, and then like the more I read on the specs, I just kind of leaned more towards the Pico, and so far I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I'm surprised that people were buying like the 4-packs of the Ones because it seems like they could make a bigger module that maybe had a little more control, but then that goes away from exactly what they tried to do. So I get it. It just didn't work for me. It's not what I want.
Or if you bought the 4-pack, that's essentially the cost of like the Bitbox.
Yeah, or the 301
at that point,
close
or
to
the
both of
301,
them at that
which
point.
which is giving you like 12 times more power. So it's like I don't know why. Yeah, I don't see the appeal of the 4-pack. If you just need a simple little drum sample module, then I can see just tossing one in there. But if you're looking at 4 of them, obviously your drum needs exceeds that the One can do, and it's time to look at something like Bitbox or something.
So you have to use the card. You can't record directly into it.
No.
Oh, gee.
That's another thing. It doesn't sample really. It's sample playback.
Right.
However, that is one thing that I'll give the Tiptop One is that its interface for putting sounds into it is definitely easier than the Pico. Like the Pico, you have to have a special adapter and it connects to the back, and then you upload shit that way. Yeah. Whereas like the One, it's all on a little card and it's up front. Yeah. So it's definitely got one up on the Pico in that regard. But I'm eyeing up that audio damage.
Oh yeah, that Enso looks awesome.
Yeah, the Enso.
Like it's the same. I think it's the functionality that we wanted. It's a lot closer to like, hey, let me take a loop, maybe do some replicant stuff with it, and just kind of like have a bank of loops that I can actually sample onto this thing really easily.
They did do I don't know if you guys saw a video, I think it was just yesterday, posted up from Superbooth regarding it. Like he plays around with it a little bit.
Oh yeah, I saw part of that.
Yeah,
I didn't see that. No.
It looks good.
What stood out to you as being appealing about it?
The interface for one thing.
Yeah.
It looks super fucking nice
Really
and easy
nice.
to use. Dude.
Okay.
Like from what I can tell, there's going to be other modes where you can slice, which is what I am really excited about. You know what I mean? I want to be able to record a beat in my modular and then flip over to the recorded beat and slice and dice the fucking thing.
You want a modular recycle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this is going to do. He said it's modeled after the looper in Ableton, which he was talking about a replicant mode.
Oh yeah,
like the VST. And that had some like pitch shifting per slice, things like that. And so I don't know to what level of craziness it'll be able to achieve, but even at its most basic as a looper, it still seems very appealing. So all the other shit that he's adding to it will be, I think, a nice bonus for sure.
So what's the ETA? I mean, how much time do you think he's going to have to develop and add crazy shit to it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't hear one either.
He hasn't. I don't think he really announced it. Like he said that basically they were focusing on the EOS Verb first, which is now out as of that was like their other Superbooth reveal was the EOS and the Enso, and I have the EOS. I pre-ordered it. It's here. I've been using it. Right. But yeah, I'm definitely keeping an eye on the Enso. But the 301 seems a bit too expensive and too much for me. But I can definitely see it being up your alley. Being like,
yeah, I'm excited. It feels like the stuff that I wanted the Octatrack to be is kind of in there. For what I didn't use the Octatrack for loops as much as I did for one shots that I wanted to kind of mess up and have like a strange sequence. I think that thing working with the variegate and the voltage block will be a lot of fun. But it's very beta. I know he just redid the UI for everything. So there's this release for the 301 that's literally just like a new plugin architecture and an SDK for people to make more plugins and stuff on their own outside of him being available to do it. So
yeah, it's interesting to see so many samplers just like explode on the scene.
Yeah.
Not only just like in modular, but just standalone too. Like there's a lot going on with sampling right now.
yeah, and even that radio music, he just added like time stretching to that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think I don't know if this was in or not, but some ability to change pitch in the radio music. Because when I got the radio music module a couple of weeks ago, I like used it. I'm like, oh, it plays back a sample. This is very static though. You're just literally scrubbing the start point to go through the stations that you have. So that's it. That's all you can do with it. It'd be cool like to play back a long sample in a small module. It's awesome, but I have it on the chord machine mostly just to play back. Like that firmware is pretty cool. Sounds pretty good. I don't have anything that's poly in my modular, so for little hits like that, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it sounded like a compact techno machine.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
Get some rave stabs out of there.
Yep.
So it's also thinking like the opposite of like it's the drone machine. So you have like a 1950s radio announcement about like nuclear fallout, and you have that behind your drone, and it's just it's 20 minutes, people talking about what you're supposed to do when the bombs drop, and like letting that go while you're going to town on another
That's
drone.
funny because I think that is literally one of the default samples that you get with it.
Are you serious?
People talking about nuclear accidents and stuff like that. There's like a big community of sample packs for that thing that you can download because it's like the raw format, not WAV. So people just make like, oh, here's like 20 gigs because it'll take like a 32 gig card or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a ton of stuff you can put on there.
You called it, Dave.
Wow. That is weird. Good for me to call it cliche. I'm so fucking creative.
I was interested in having chords, but now that I have the Sid Guts Deluxe, it's coming my way. I'm real stoked about the chords mode on that thing, just because I like the lo-fi 8-bit chords.
That's what makes this cool. Is it sounds kind of shitty.
Does it?
Like it sounds like it's even modeled after like the Omni chord or whatever. Those like kind of. It's not very high res, and that's the part that I like about it. Is like when you have the sine wave mode, it's just like really dark and kind of like
kind of grimy.
Yeah, it's not like just hitting a VST chord or something. I don't think that would
has a little bit of character.
Yeah.
Now, how many different wave forms are in there?
Oh, before it was just 4. You got saw, square, sine, and then some like dirtier saw sign, but then they added another update where you get 4 more now. They're just and you can actually put your own wavetable on it now. You can upload little 8-bit wavetables and it'll read them as the other 4.
Cool.
Oh, but there's still like variations of like square.
No, it's just whatever you want to put in.
Oh,
yeah, they just added that like a couple of weeks ago.
Have you screwed around with that?
Nope. No, it's funny because I couldn't get it to work the other night. Like it's the one thing about teensies that I don't like, and this too, is that you have to like if you want to update it to change the mode, you've got to pull it out of the modular and then update it in the back. I don't recommend it as a kit. I think it's a little difficult. It's really tight.
Okay.
Like it's a really tight like. It's
I almost
janky.
did. Like when I was buying all them knobs from Thonk, my last order, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll toss in a chord machine kit.
Yeah.
But
is it the same sort of like risers?
Yeah.
You need to do.
There's like a 3.
Yeah,
it's like a stack of 3 of them, and it's like kind of
fuck that.
bendy, dude. It's not.
I was like, oh, it's only a 4 HP module. I could probably handle that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It should be.
I would have probably royally screwed it up.
It should be 8 HP, a little wider, with like a better, more stable bass. It's not the best design.
I guess I could just talk about EOS in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As it stands now, it's my 4th dedicated reverb module in my setup.
Currently, not like over the like not over time.
Currently, it's number 4. If you include clouds as a reverb, which the Oliverb, I'm sure. I mean, I use it every once in a while, but I don't know. I don't like dedicating clouds to a reverb. I feel like that's a nice bonus feature in there. But yeah, I have the Herb Verb. I have the Halls of Valhalla cart for ZDSP, have Clouds, and now I have the Audio Damage Eos.
And not a Morphogene.
And not a Morphogene.
Oh, yeah. Morphogene.
But yeah, I mean, I like it overall. I don't know. I don't feel it can compare to any of the other reverbs either. Like I have 4, and I think they all hold their own.
So where do you see yourself using this over the other ones?
Mostly on percussion things.
Okay.
I feel like the Halls of Valhalla is still the king when it comes to big spaces, big halls, giant sounding reverbs.
Right.
You know, very lush, very large, and it can handle hot and distorted sounds and even make that sound nice. Whereas, like, I can't do that with any of the other ones. And even though the EOS is kind of like, I don't know, I guess advertised as such, you know, being able to go into infinite mode and have long decay times and things like that, it just sounds nowhere near as lush, in my opinion.
Right.
I use the EOS plugin a lot, like with Prometheus Burning on drum sounds, and I feel like that's where I like it the most. I feel like the plate mode is its strong point over the Super Hall mode, which is weird because it was designed by the same guy. Like Sean Costello made the Halls of Valhalla and, you know, Cart and all those plugins, and he worked with Audio Damage on this, but it's just, I don't know. It's just not very good, in my opinion, for the Super Hall stuff.
Now, you mentioned the VST, which you used a lot of. How does it compare to the VST?
It sounds just like it, you know what I mean? Like, it's a little different. Like, it doesn't have the bass multiplier.
What was that?
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
I liked that a lot.
That.
It had the ability to boost the low end. Like,
okay. So it really was like those old radios with the bass boost button?
Kind of.
It was just more than an EQ. It was almost like it let that energy kind of build up more.
Okay.
Like feedback.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah. Like in the reverb, you could achieve very dark sounds with it and also heavy.
Oh, okay.
You know, and I like that a lot. You could get some very dark, damp, bassy reverbs out of it. And
this doesn't have that.
It doesn't have the bass boost. It has color control though, which you can CV, which is nice. Like at 12 o'clock, it's kind of neutral. You turn it to the right, and it's kind of like a high pass, and it'll bring out more of the high end harmonics. And if you turn it counterclockwise, it starts to like dampen and kind of bring out the more dark, damp sounds. But you can't get like as dark and bassy as you can with the VST. That functionality is just not there. And that's one reason why I liked it on drums a lot too. You can make some really dark, plated, you know, reverby percussion sounds. So that's probably where I'll be using the module as well. Whereas like Herb Verb, I always felt was like good for like metallic percussion stuff and just weird sound design shit. And four different modules, no overlap at all. Not overkill in any way.
And if someone released another one, you wouldn't hesitate to get that fifth.
I've already looked at the Sonic Potions one, which is still not out yet.
Oh, yeah.
But I am curious about what that one does. So I like reverbs almost as much as distortion for shaping sound, you know.
Yep.
Well,
That brings me to a good thing we could probably talk about, though, is those channel strip modules.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
By Feedback.
Yeah.
Which is a company I've never heard of before. They're just called Feedback Modular.
Where are they from? Do you remember?
I have no idea. I don't think it's United States, though.
Because the currency was
there
not
was
by default.
Right. There was some
yeah.
currency conversion on the website when I checked it out. But yeah, basically they made a line of 3 different types of...
They were emulating 3 old mixers. They were a channel each.
Yes.
Of these old mixers, and they were being a little bit cagey about who they actually were.
Yeah, because I don't think they're allowed to say.
Right.
Because copyright infringement on it. Considering how much desk space it takes, you know, to have these old mixing consoles that you're only using for a one-trick pony.
Right.
Yes.
Barely works still.
Yes. You know, and you can stream it down to 1 or 2 modules. Very appealing.
Yeah.
And they had a ton of audio samples, which was also really helpful.
Very, very much
And they all did sound different.
Yes.
There was a wild variation.
Whether or not they sound true to what they're emulating, or it isn't even an emulation. It's supposed to be like a direct port almost.
Right,
like he used the same components that were per channel. But you can kind of decipher the code names. You know, one was meant to be the old Boss. I guess that's the BX8.
Yeah, I think.
One was supposed to be...
Wait, are we going to be in trouble by unveiling their code?
No, as long as they don't name it as such, they can't get in trouble. I mean, but...
one was that like KMX or KM8 from Boss 2, like the old silvery
Was it two different
one.
Bosses?
I think so.
Okay.
And then the one was the CR 1604 or whatever.
Yes.
Because it was the CR something.
Yes.
Which is basically like 1202, like that older style amp design.
Which was the one that was most appealing to me.
Yeah, before they moved it to when they were still made in the U.S. and they were slightly different than when they made them all in China and the sound changed or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, they all sounded good.
Yeah,
they all had different character, and I would like to see how they stack up. Like literally, like how they stack up if I run like one into another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Compared to like an actual mixer, like can they handle that? You know what I mean? Will it sound the old insert effect trick?
Right.
Yeah. Could you actually just make like a Frankenstein mixer?
Exactly.
That is just like one of each of those.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm looking forward to getting at least two of them and trying them out because they're not expensive. I haven't ordered them yet, but it's definitely on my to-buy list. I want to try them out, put them through their paces.
I've been using my Mackie 1202 is just TR8 is always running into it. And I'll have a few pedals in it just because the TR8's a little, it's like a little, I don't like it when it's clean too much.
Exactly. For the size and the price, it's definitely appealing. I mean, something I've talked about a lot. You know what I mean? I've always said I wish somebody would make this as a module, and then without much fanfare, somebody did for 3 different mixing consoles. You know what I mean? Like out of nowhere, just stumbled upon it. I was like, oh, it's what we've always discussed. It actually exists now. I need to give it a shot.
I bought one solely because of you being like, look, here's what it does. It's like, oh shit, like $120? It's like distortion pedal,
Yeah.
It's like, that's the sound.
It's like 4 distortion pedals.
Yeah, true. With each. That VGA, that Doepfer VGA module with the VGA connector. And I think ADAC makes one too. That's a damn good idea with like 13 CV.
Yeah.
That's one of the new
outs.
ones, right?
Yeah.
The Superbooth.
That's a brilliant idea. I only wish there was like a VGA connector on the side of this case so I could just hook up 2 cases and then have like a bus between them.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, can you give the rundown on that? Like I watched the Superbooth reveal, but he didn't talk about some of the stuff that I wanted to hear him talk about, like the performance mixer and shit. I guess we can talk about that later.
Oh, yeah.
I was curious what the hell that connection thing was all about.
Yeah, it's just another way, instead of having 13 long cables connecting 2 systems, just use the VGA cable instead, hook all the stuff you want to into these inputs or outputs, and then when you connect the 2 VGA cable, you would need 2 modules, 1 in each system, and then you would connect VGA between them, and then all the connections would be together, like bridging those 2 systems basically.
Okay, and how many connections can each one handle?
13, I think, total on the VGA cable. So his module has like 13 connectors, and it's just like bi-directional at that point. It's like a fancy mult.
So you wouldn't have to remember what goes where, because it's just like it'll line up.
Yep. You just patch it into the modules as you want, connect the VGA cables.
All right. Well, that is pretty slick.
Yeah, that's because I've been how it is writing down patch notes or using this thing or like trying to write this write down what this should be plus like a cell phone note. And then, like 40 minutes before a show starts, try to repatch everything together and be like, "Oh yeah, it's right."
And how much HP is it for the modules?
I think it was 8. It might have been a little more.
Huh.
Probably a little more now that I think.
Probably
about,
worth
12.
it though.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know last time I performed live with more than one case, I totally fucked up my patch.
Yeah.
And I had to like just kind of wing it. You know what I mean? Like repatch something on the fly, and it did not end up how I had it. In practice session, but.
Right.
So yeah, that caught my eye. Doepfer announced a bunch of shit.
Yeah, it was surprising.
Performance mixers.
I mean, he had like a lot of interesting stuff, but the thing that really caught my eye was the performance mixers. Unfortunately, the video, Superbooth video, didn't really touch upon them much. But
and they were really announcing the voltage controlled one. Because they had like 2 other versions of the regular non-voltage controlled performance mixer that they've changed over the years, like putting the return on it. They didn't have that.
A138.
Yep.
Yeah.
The P and the O, right?
Yeah. The P is the actual, I think, performance mixer, and the O is the output.
Yep.
The output is still the same. These new ones still connect up to that for their output, but the mixer itself is different now.
I see.
Because it has all the voltage controllable compatibility. It also has a shit ton of LEDs now.
But it's still basically that 4-channel mixer.
Yeah.
With the knobs, like the Doepfer knobs. I mean,
if you looked at it, it looks the same, except you'll see more LEDs on it. The new one is the A135 something, and the older one was the A138. It adds the LEDs because you kind of need them if you're going to utilize the expansions, so you can see where it's at. The one expansion offers CV control over everything. The volume, the panning, the aux send. It's 4 different parameters that you have voltage control over for each channel. And it's just a separate expansion. And then they also have another expansion. It's a quad envelope follower. So that essentially you can generate voltages from your 4 inputs on the mixer, have them routed to the control voltage expansion, and control other channels. So you can like do ducking, like pseudo compression,
like sidechain,
pan control, the sidechain basically, things of that nature. And there's also still dedicated outputs, so you can route those like elsewhere in your rig too, like the envelopes that are generated from that.
So if you had all these expansions and one of these mixers, like how much space would it end up taking?
A good grip of space. Yeah. It's not the most compact setup.
It's affordable though. The prices are really
super
good,
cheap, dude. It's like it's probably like half the price, I think.
Oh, that's awesome.
With all the expansions than say like the WMD one.
Yeah.
I mean, the WMD's more channels too. You know what I mean? It's apples and oranges, I guess. It just depends on what you need. Personally, I don't need that many channels that the WMD offers. So like the Doepfer one's really appealing to me, especially with all the expansions. It's 4 channels, but you also have, 4 channels of CV control over every parameter, your envelope followers, and that all gets outputted to the old A138 O.
Okay.
So you get 2 outs, your left, right, depending on how you have it panned, and your aux send and return, which is cool.
And that's always cool too, because you can use those channels are VCAs too, so you don't need a VCA, and you can just have it there on the mixer, which is pretty sweet.
Dieter Doepfer, 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 Dieter Doepfer. I just love his name. It's like a character out of Fraggle Rock or something. Uncle Traveling Dieter Doepfer.